Whoops. Hi, my name is Julia.
And my name is Gina, and we are going to be talking about food service systems and with sanitation and safety.
So to start off, we'll go over food laws and regulations. So the first one is truth in menu legislation, which requires menu descriptions to be honest and selling prices and service charges to be accurate. As an example, truth in description would is sorry, truth in menu would be like truth in the description of preparation style, ingredients, item size, and health claims. The next one is food code. Food code requires personnel at a management level to identify food allergens and their associated symptoms. This next slide just goes over the FDA food code temperatures. So the hold frozen temperature range should be 0 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Transport hot temperature range should be 165 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. And you should not hold food between the temperatures of 41 to 135 degrees Fahrenheit. So this slide will go over how food should be reheated and cooled. So you should reheat food to 165 degrees for 15 seconds within 2 hours. And then below we'll just outline how leftovers should be cooled. So in general, food should be cooled from 135 to 141, I'm sorry, to 41 degrees in 6 hours or less. This time will limit growth of or bacteria growth. And the two steps of food being cooled, food must be cooled from 135 to 70 degrees in 2 hours or less. And food must be cooled from 70 to 41 degrees in 4 hours. The ideal temperature range for pathogens to grow is 70 to 125 degrees Fahrenheit. This next slide goes over federal regulatory bodies. So the USDA's Food Safety Inspection Service. So the Wholesome Meat and Poultry Act gives the USDA authority to regulate transporters, vendors, cold storage, warehouses, animal food manufacturers. The inspection of animals at this time of slaughter and requirements on imported meat. The Egg Products Inspection Act is mandatory inspection of the processing of liquid, frozen, and dried egg products, and also requires pasteurization of all eggs. This slide goes over the U.S. Department of Commerce. So the National Marine Fisheries Service regulates commercial and recreational marine fishing and manages national marine resources to conserve fish and other marine life. The Department of Health and Human Services. So public health service protects, promotes, and advances the health and safety of U.S. residents. It's concerned with infectious and contagious diseases transmitted through vending machines, milk, shellfish, and restaurants. Centers for Disease Control, or the CDC, researches any cases of foodborne illness, identifies source, and reports cases to the public. Food and Drug Administration, inspects factories, raw materials, labeling, inspects eggs and egg substitutes, monitors shellfish shipping, prohibits adulteration, prohibits misbranding. And the Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act prohibits adulterated drugs and medical devices, misbranded drugs and medical devices, and adulterated cosmetics or misbranded cosmetics. And below are just some definitions. So GRAS, or GRAS, is generally recognized as safe. The Food Additive Amendment is if someone creates an additive, they need to prove its safety. Unintentional additives is when chemical substances find their way into food through a certain stage of manufacture or handling of food. Standard identity is a mandatory set of requirements related to the nature, composition, and essential characteristics of a food that must be met or to be marketed under a specific name. Standard quality details of requirements, guidelines, and characteristics that need to be met. Standard of fill of containers is the minimum weight or volume of specific food which the container must hold. Imitation is a nutritionally inferior product, usually the more cost efficient. Substitute is a food that resembles another food. And the Nutrition Labeling and Education Act requires that ingredients are listed in decreasing order of prominence. Food products must identify weight, name, and address of manufacturer and serving size.
So now we're going to go over safety. So what is the EPA? The EPA is the Environmental Protection Agency, and they set and monitor standards for water quality and controls minimum safe levels of pesticides. So under environmental conditions, there are safety programs. So the engineering will safety features of buildings and equipment that are built in, and measures include education and enforcement. So education provides on-the-job training for tools and equipment, and it provides a list of all accidents, and it keeps the list of all accidents on the job. Enforcement makes sure that rules and regulations are enforced by using a checklist. For fire safety, there are 3 different classes of fire extinguishers that are used for different purposes. So a class A fire extinguisher is going to put out ordinary combustibles such as wood and paper. We were unable to attach the symbol to this PowerPoint, but the symbol for the class A fire extinguisher is an A that's in a triangle, and it's green. The color of the triangle is green. For a class B fire extinguisher, that's going to be used on flammable liquids such as grease, gasoline, and oil. And the symbol for that is going to be a red square with a B in it. Class C fire extinguishers are going to be suitable only for electrically energized fires. And the symbol for that is going to be a blue circle with a C in it. For chemical cleaning supplies, the EPA is the agency that regulates these supplies. Each supply has are made up differently. So a chlorine solution is going to have 50 to 90 parts per million with a pH of less than 8. An iodine cleaning supply is going to have 12.5 parts per million with a pH of less than 5. And a quaternary ammonia cleaning supply is going to have 150 to 400 parts per million with a pH of 7. So this slide is going to discuss accident prevention. So the OSHA stands for the Occupational Safety and Health Act of 1970. And this act enforces that protective workplace safety and health standards by providing information, training, and assistance to employers and workers. PPE stands for personal protective equipment, and it's protective clothing, helmets, goggles, and other garments/equipment designed to protect the body from injury or infection. A hazard community standard is OSHA's way of ensuring safety to employees who potentially encounter hazardous chemicals. The bloodborne pathogen standard is a requirement that states what employers must do to protect workers who are occupationally exposed to blood or other potentially infectious materials. And lastly, the material safety data sheet is a safety document required by OHSAs that contain data about physical properties of a particular hazardous substance. So that concludes our PowerPoint on discussing the sanitation and safety within the food service systems.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.